Hi everyone, today we're going to present our Commercial Law SFMD 1073 group project. We're from group 4. Now we'll present the case of May White and another versus Jack White and another. I'm Kushu Hui, and now I'm start from the introduction of this case. The key facts of this case include in the early 1964, Thomas White, the father, transferred a land into his elder son Jack's White name and orally promising the sale proceeds would be split equally among his 3 children, Jack White, May White, and Aaron White. After Thomas' death, Jack sold the land for Rm 924,000 and May received Rm 160,000, while Aaron received Rm 24,000, and Jack was keeping the rest balance. When May and Aaron pressed for their unpaid balance, Jack's friends told May that, "Don't worry, you'll get back all your money. If Jack does not give you, I'll give you." And no such promise was made to Aaron. For the service issue and lawsuit, Jack relocated abroad and could not be served with process. So May decided to suit that the friend's promise was a legally binding warranty. Aaron's claim was dropped because she received no promise. And the party involved here include the plaintiff, May White, the first plaintiff, and Aaron White, the second plaintiff. Defendants, Jack White, the first defendant, elder son who sold the land, and Jack's friend, second defendant, present the quality to May. So the legal issue here include, was the land meant to be shared? Did Jack's friend make a legal promise? Who was the promise made to? Is the promise legally binding? In this case, the court decision, the quality must include the consideration under Section 2D and intention to create a legal relations. In this case, the court found that there was no consideration from May to accept the friend's quality and no formal agreement between May and the friend. The friend's statement was a moral obligation and no legal effect. And the outcome is May's claim was dismissed and Aaron's claim no consideration at all because there is no promise made.
Good morning, my name is Lam Doshe. In this case, there were a few issues. The first issue is, was the land meant to be shared? Key question, did their father wanted the land to be shared among all 3 siblings even though it was only in Jack's name? Although Jack legally owned the land, the court needed to decide if a family agreement or trust existed. The second issue is, did Jack's friend make a legal promise? When Jack's friend said, "If Jack does not pay, I will," was this a friendly statement or a serious legal promise? If it was a legal promise, May could demand the money from Jack's friend in court. The third issue is, who was the promise made to? Was the promise made to both sisters or only to May? If only May was promised, the Irene cannot claim anything from Jack's friend. Last issue is the promise legally binding? Key question, is the friend promise enforceable in law? For a contract to be valid, there must be something valuable exchanged. This is called consideration. Law use Contract Act 1950, Section 2D.
Hi everyone, I'm Yong Yilin. Today I will be presenting an analysis of the court's decision regarding the existence of the property and its sale. The court ruled in favor of the plaintiff despite the absence of formal documentary evidence and found her oral testimony credible and persuasive. The first is the court's decision. The court placed significant weight on the testimony of the plaintiff, which is May White. She explained that the property originally belonged to her late father, Thomas White, who had intended to divide it equally among his 3 children. While there were no formal title documents, the court found her account consistent and credible. Her testimony was further supported by statements from her husband and aunts, strengthening her case. The second is the key legal principles. There are 2. First, the court emphasized the importance of oral testimony. In family disputes where formal documents are often absent, the court is willing to accept oral testimony if it is supported by other witnesses. This was evident in this case, where oral evidence played a crucial role in establishing in facts. The second is the evidential weight. Oral testimony admissible in family disputes when corroborated by witnesses. The third is the relevant precedents. There are two important precedents guided the court's decisions. The first is Sanction Matter Works, Ltd v. Liu FA, in 1966, which established that oral testimony is admissible when there is no documentary evidence, as long as it is not challenged or cross-examined. The second is Chua Biu-Huat v. PP in 1970, which highlighted the role of oral testimony in determining factual issues, especially when written documentation is unavailable. The fourth is the evidence consideration. The court also considered the plaintiff's failure to call the attorney involved in the sale as a witness. However, this omission didn't harm her case. Under Section 114G of the Evidence Act 1950, the court was allowed to infer certain facts despite the absence of specific evidence. As a result, the court concluded that the plaintiff's strong oral testimony was sufficient from the case. So, in conclusion, the court's decision underscored the importance of oral testimony in cases where formal documents are lacking, especially in family disputes. The court applied the legal principle that credible oral evidence can establish facts, even in the absence of physical evidence, and referenced relevant precedents to support its judgment. That's all for me. Thank you.
Now I will explain issue 2, which is about the second defendant verbal undertaking and whenever it created a legally binding obligation. The main legal issue here is whether the second defendant verbal promise to pay the first plaintiff. If the first defendant failed to do so, it's enforceable in court. Let's look at the two key principles that the court considered. First, we have the principle of consideration under Section 2D of the Contract Act 1950. A promise is only enforceable if there is valid consideration, meaning something must be done at the request of the promisor. Alright, so next to the second, the plaintiff also framed the promise as contract guarantee under Section 80 of the same Act, which is this type of contract requires some benefit to the principal debtor, which is the first defendant. The principal debtor, which is the first defendant, the court found that the second defendant promise didn't benefit the first defendant. Yet, no action of forbearance was taken by the plaintiff in response to that promise. So, the guarantee left the legal requirement and was unenforceable, as confirmed by the case Caption 1 BHT v. Malayapan Muchumal. In conclusion, the court that the verbal promise was merely a moral obligation, not a legal one, because there was no solid consideration and no benefit to the principal debtor. The promise didn't meet the legal threshold, for as a result, the plaintiff claim against the second defendant was dismissed.
My name is Christina, so I will share about group reflections. So what we learned, we gain a better understanding of Malaysian contract law, especially the role of considerations. We learned the difference between moral promises and legal promises. Not all sincere promises are legally enforceable. We realized a valid contract under the Contract Act 1950 must include offer, acceptance, intention to create legal relations, and considerations. We also study how Section 2D and Section 80 apply to contracts of guarantee. We understood how past cases influence current court decisions. This group assignment helped us improve skills in reading and understanding court judgments, identifying main legal issues, and relating cases to legal principles. So for the group work experience, we work with members of different races and backgrounds. We have group member Malay and Chinese. This leading ambitious discussions. We share different perspectives that help us understand the legal concept more deeply. We also divided the task fairly so everyone contributes responsibly. We use WhatsApp to discuss and stay organized and consistent in our works. So we also help each other with challenging legal terms and concepts. So the valuable skills we developed is teamwork, communications, time management. We gain experience working professionally and respectfully in a group settings. This helps us prepare well for future group assignments and collaborations.
My name is Ng Tian Hong. Now I want to discuss about the skill development, which is the part 3 for the group reflection. Through this assignment, we have gained several useful skills. First, we have learned how to think from a legend perspective, which is the legend's thinking through this activity. We understand how to identify legend issues and apply the law to actual conditions. When encountering legend issues, we can think logically from a legend perspective. The second one is teamwork and communication, which is an efficient team direction of work, and good communication allow everyone to better express their opinion and make the process of assignment more efficient. The third is time management. When doing the assignment, we will plan the task and assign them in advance to avoid last-minute pressures. In the process of the assignment, we always carry out communication and set a time for for every part of the assignment in order to ensure everyone stay on track and no one is left behind. The last is we also learn how to write in a clear format and concise style that is suitable for academic and legend works and is easier for reader to understand. As conclusion, after we complete this study case, we know that this case is showing the property problem between the two predicate and two dependents. Our team has gained a deeper understanding of the Malaysian legend system from this case study, especially the law that relate to family relations and property rights. This case shows the importance of legend documentary evidence and a clear legend assist in protecting personal rights when someone gets into a real legend problem. And we also understand that when a court just a case, it not only rely on the legend provision, but also refer to previous precedents and the fact of the matter to ensure the fairness and rationality of the trial. The law is not just theoretical knowledge, it is closely related to people's daily lives, especially when dealing with family and property disputes. This case study not only improved our team ability to analyze the law, strengthen teamwork, ledger writing, and research skills. This, this experience will have a positive impact on our future study of law and our understanding of how the law works in reality. That's all for us. Thank you.